Welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is Jim Hopkins, President with Golden Rain Foundation. Jim, so nice to see you. Thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure, Bobby. It's very nice to be here.
Good, absolutely. So tell me, I'm curious, are things settling down with new members that, you know, they started in October and then at the end of the year it's always like budgets and that kind of thing. So things, now we're into January, things settling down?
No. No, this is going to be a pretty eventful year. So we're trying to get ourselves acclimated as soon as possible, as early as possible. And I was just realizing the other day that the meeting in January, the first 24 meeting, is the earliest it could possibly be. It's the day after New Year's.
Oh, what? Yeah. So it was January 2nd?
It was January 2nd. Yeah,
wow.
So we're off.
So you guys are on it.
That's great. We're on it. We're on it. You know, we had to get over the New Year's celebration, and then we're right into it.
So, no break when you're in service, right? Yep. Helping others. So first off, you have some general updates that you would like to cover.
Yeah, I wanted to just cover a couple of things. One is we do have a new treasurer. As you know, I was treasurer prior to that.
Okay.
And William Cohen joined the board just in November. And so he is now the treasurer, which is unusual for someone to become an officer in the first, of that magnitude in the first year. But William is obviously up to the task, so I thought I'd make special mention of him not only joining the board, but becoming treasurer.
So he just joined the board like in October?
Yes.
And then became, okay, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And the other update is that a carryover from last year is that we updated how we do the occupancy fee, the additional occupancy fee. In the past, it was just half of, in the past, I'm sorry, it was a defined fee. Now it's half of the GRF fee, which makes it a lot easier to administer every year rather than having a resolution, et cetera. It's just half of the GRF fee. So that's built into the process now.
Okay. So when the fees go up, you guys don't have to go back and reevaluate it and take the time doing that. It's just, it'll always be half of whatever
Exactly.
the fee is.
And this year it's
more simplified.
Yes. This year it's rounded. It's $114, and so that's half of the GRF fee.
And so when does this come into play? What is considered an additional occupant? Like what are situations where that happens?
When there's a third person in the manor that is not a caretaker, okay, there's an additional occupancy fee. All right, and obviously that person has access to GRF amenities and services, and so we have to consider that in developing the fee structure.
Okay. Wonderful. And then, so one of the other things to go over today is the shared cost fees. They've now been addressed and a more consistent timeline is set in place for that.
Yes, yes. One of the things that, and this is a carryover from my treasurer's job, one of the things that we noticed is that the fee changes for all of our amenities were coming up at different times and in odd intervals. And so when we took a look at it, what was happening was it was the operating committee, that is CAC, that would say, look, we haven't changed our fees for this particular amenity for a while. Let's take a look at it. Well, that led to a very inconsistent way of developing fees. And so what we did is develop a schedule, similar to a budgeting schedule. We do that every year. All right, but we don't change fees every year. Some fees we do and we will going into the future, and some are every 2 years, and some would be every 3 years, depending on the schedule. But what we did do is develop a schedule now for the fees, so they'll be appropriately addressed.
So okay, so that will say like at a certain time is then when it's addressed, so that so it's not getting addressed too often or maybe getting neglected for too long. So
yes, because the fees are based on cost. So if costs go up, then we need to adjust the fees. So it's not automatic that the fees will be adjusted. It's what's automatic is they will be reviewed every or on the intervals that's been assigned. Well, one of the first items that came out of this, that came up, was shared, well, all of our shared costs are being addressed that way. And the approach is to have finance initiate the study. They will do a fee study, look at the fees based on cost, and see whether or not they need to be adjusted. And so, since finance is initiating it, just like they initiate the budget, there'll be a regular pattern. If costs go up, fees would go up. Now, that has to be a relatively significant cost to go up, but it still is better than the alternative, which was every time somebody thought about it.
Okay.
Now, that has gone on for years, obviously, and
Yes.
that really doesn't sustain itself in a well-run organization. So we made that change.
Now, are there times where fees or things go up, but then they come back down? Like, I know we had like higher inflation, and now inflation has come down a little bit. Like, does that affect things here too?
It does, but the operative word was inflation. So inflation never goes down.
Yeah.
So if it's 2%, then the chances are that the fee for that particular item may go up by 2%. Or maybe inflation did not impact that particular fee. Therefore, it would stay the same upon review. So it's not automatic. And as you mentioned, inflation has been pretty high in the last, even though it's going down, it's been high in the last, say, 2 or 3 or 4 years. And so we have to make those changes. Right. When it happens. I mean, these fees are shared costs, and understand that all the costs of these amenities and services are not covered by the fees. Most of the cost is covered by our shared costs, which is the per man or per month, or our HOA fees, that we all pay. Because we all enjoy, at some point in time, all of these amenities and services.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So, and then there's changes in room rental fees.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the first items to benefit by this structure was to look at the room rental fees. And it, by the way, and it just cleared the 28-day notice. So when we change something, it has to go through a 28-day notice, which happened, I believe, in December. So in the January meeting, it cleared the 28-day notice. So it becomes effective February 1st. Okay. All right. Now, new users are impacted in 2024, but because of how we look at the clubs, and the clubs can pre-register. They have what they call a pre-registration somewhere near late spring, and they pre-register. So in 2023,
so
they
back
register.
In spring of 23. Okay.
They register for 2024.
Okay.
So the room rates for them will change in 2025. So it's only those that are reserving rooms this year that will be impacted by the change in the fees.
So the ones that have already been reserved from 23, those, it's not like, oh, now you owe more.
Yes, right. No, we can't do that.
Right.
May try one day, but I don't think that we would be allowed.
Okay.
Now, and it's important to understand that this was the first to benefit by the change, and the room fees weren't changed, haven't been changed since 2019.
Okay.
Okay. And since 2019, a lot of things have happened. And so when we looked at it, the cost from 2019 had changed. And not only that, when we looked at it in a deeper format, the way the prior fees were structured, the fees were structured by clubhouse and were not really consistent throughout the entire community. So what we thought we'd do was standardize all the fees on a per square foot basis. Now, there was a recent article in The Breeze that basically explained it in a little bit more detail, but what it amounts to is now there's a consistent per square footage for all the rooms throughout the with a couple of exceptions, but throughout the entire village.
Okay.
Clubhouse rooms.
And was that in the December issue, the November-December issue of The Breeze? The
Did I
most
say
recent?
breeze? I meant globe.
Oh,
I meant
okay,
globe.
okay,
I'm
in the
sorry. I said breeze. That's in the globe, but that's a good idea. Maybe we should highlight that in
Put
the
it
breeze.
in there as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
just to. So, what types of things? The fees that you have for the room rentals, like what types of things does that pay for?
Well, it pays for the room itself. Okay. Now, some rooms have kitchens, kitchenettes, etc., and there's a fee on top of that for that. So basically, when you're buying or paying for a room, you're paying just for the square footage.
Yeah.
And the setup is also additional. So all of those things are additional, but the actual room rental itself, okay, is on a per square foot standardized basis for throughout the entire community. For instance, in the past, it was done on a per clubhouse basis.
Okay.
All right. Now it's every square foot in the entire village is priced at the same rate.
And so that's going, those monies that are collected for that, that's going for basically the maintenance and the upkeep of these buildings and all, and to make them work and usable and to have all the features that they have in it that you need for your meetings, right?
Partially, because remember, this is shared costs, and so we all share in that.
Yeah.
Okay, we all share in that because we never know when we're going to use it. But more than that, I think the whole idea of shared costs is really what makes Laguna Woods so vibrant in going into the future as well as the past. It has sustained itself over 60 years. And so I think we forget some of the fundamentals that keep this village alive. I mean, we can walk into a clubhouse at any time and have a meeting, et cetera, as long as we schedule it in advance. There's so many amenities here that we just take for granted. I guess it's like anything else. When you have it and it's there, and by the way, it's reasonable. I mean, we have I believe that we have country club living at basically a reduced cost.
Yes.
Because only the GRF portion is that country club portion, and that's $228 per manor per month. Now, I don't know where you can get 3 golf courses, 7 clubhouses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And the landscaping and everything else that we just take for granted. I don't know where you can get that.
For that low of a price, exactly.
Price,
yeah, it's very true. Well, and then one of the last things you wanted to go over is Clubhouse One and what's happening there.
As many of you know, that at Clubhouse One, we've been looking at renovating Clubhouse One for a while now. Even the process actually started prior to COVID, and finally we've gotten this project off the ground. As you know, Clubhouse One, as one signifies, is our first clubhouse. It's approximately 60 years old. In fact, this is our Laguna Woods 60th year.
Wow.
Okay, and so Clubhouse One was the first one. This is the first major renovation we've had in a while. Okay, and so in order to do this, it's going to be necessary to close that clubhouse. We decided to close it rather than try to stage it. First, it's considerably more costly to stage it. Because once the contractor stages his equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that equipment is on loan or rent or however he uses it. It's no longer able to be used for any other project. So the quicker he gets it done for our project, the less it costs him and then us.
Right, right.
The other thing is when you have a lot of activities going on, when there's construction, not only does it slow down the construction, but there's a danger to the residents for being around all of this construction, breathing in all of the whatever it is that they're sanding and whatever. I mean, you just don't want that for our residents.
I imagine a lot more time would be taken to put up sheeting and plastic and stuff like that.
All of that
to make
takes
it safe
time.
for people to come in and out.
And what's the old adage? Time is money.
So it's going to cost more.
And so, it was a tough decision, but I can say that the Recreation Department has done a marvelous job. What I understand is that 70% of those that were, quote, dislodged, or the activities that were dislodged, have been dealt with, and they're still working with as much as they can. Now some you can't. There's no replacement, obviously, for this period of time. But there'll be a better environment, play environment, once this is done. So this is once every 60 years. This is a small price to pay for this kind of renovation.
And what are all the renovations that are going to be happening at Clubhouse One?
Well, they're going to update the kitchen, the drapes. I mean, there's just a lot of things. It's nothing major in terms of structural,
Okay.
but there'll be updates on the laboratories, okay? Things that we kind of take for granted, look at every day, and as they sag and deteriorate, we look at them every day and say, hey, that's normal. Well, it's not normal. And if we want to maintain that country club atmosphere and be proud of what we have, as well as just keep it updated, because there's some things that are just outdated.
Yeah.
That we just need to make these changes. So yeah, I know I didn't describe all of it in detail.
Right.
In fact, I believe we had a display 6 months ago at Clubhouse
Okay.
One of all of
That
the
showed.
changes. Yeah, there was maybe 5 or 6 easels out there that showed some of the things that were going to happen.
How exciting.
Yep.
And then it's going to be closed starting March 4th.
Yep.
And then for approximately how long?
Till approximately August.
Okay,
you
until
know,
August.
and that's what the contractor has
So
indicated.
5 months-ish. Yeah.
And by
Well,
the way,
knock on wood, let's hope they're
Oh,
on
yeah.
schedule and on time and no rain delays
Yep.
or supply delays or that kind of
Yep.
thing.
no, obviously parking will be impacted, but I just also want to make sure people know that the library and the History Center will remain open
Oh, that's
during
great.
this period of time. Okay, it'll be impacted obviously by some of the parking, but the library and the History Center will remain open.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well,
Yep.
thank you. And I have to ask, because I imagine some viewers probably
Mm-hmm.
are wondering as well, tell me about your medallion.
Oh, this is my pin for my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. It's a college campus fraternity that once you join, you're committed to service for life. It's not just a college fraternity where you would drink beer and do the other things. It commits you to life of service, and what we do is we give back to the community. In fact, I'm part of a chapter now that has actually a foundation.
Oh,
that
really?
It's called the Omega Uplift Foundation. So yeah, it's something that kind of feeds the other side of me.
Ah,
Okay.
well, I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing. And obviously, even in this position, you're doing service even more. So you have definitely carried out your purpose in this world, right?
Yep. Well, hopefully we keep trying.
Yeah. Well, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on.
And thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Well, stay with us. We have announcements and weather coming up right after this.